Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, we're going to jump on the Halloween train. It's about time I do that. So for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this metallic edible fabric, and I'm going to show you also how to do this patterned buttercream transfer method, and why not show you how I made these sugar skulls at the same time. So let's get to it, and we're going to start with filling our top tier, and the bottom tier is already filled and crumb coated. I don't think you need to see me do both tiers all the time. It's the same technique. And what I did was I added this buttercream. Typically, I think I explained it in my last video or the one before that I typically do a buttercream dam when I am filling cakes, especially, well, all the time for orders. But when I'm doing a demo cake for these tutorials, sometimes I don't. And in this time I didn't. My buttercream was pretty firm. It had sat in a cool room overnight. So it was pretty firm, and I wasn't worried about it bulging. But typically, every time, go ahead and do a thickened buttercream dam to keep your filling inside your cake and to keep it from bulging. So those are my little tips there. And on this bottom tier, I am using black buttercream. Now, how I achieved this black, this is how I like to get these deep colors now. I took my buttercream and I added some black to it, about half as much as I normally would. Probably for about 6 cups, maybe 1.5 tablespoons of tops of the black food color gels, and then put it in your microwave and do it 30-second increments until it has fully melted. And once it has melted, it will deepen in color. It's just kind of magical how that happens. And at the same time, you incidentally, remove the air bubbles, which is great. So just once you have done that, cover it with some saran wrap on top, touching the surface in the bowl so that it does not form a skin. Put it in your refrigerator for about an hour until it firms up again, and then it's perfect. So the bottom, I did do a black base coat, and then I'm going to add some more thickness with our buttercream transfer. And I'm just cleaning it up, making sure that the sides are level and the top is level. And I'm trying to get a crisp corner, but I'm not quite as worried about it as I normally would be because we're going to have this transfer. Now, this is a texture matte by Angela Morrison. I'll try to remember to add a link in the video description. She has some fantastic products. I highly, highly recommend her product. She has stencils and texture mats, and I believe she has some other things too, but those are the 2 things that really attract my attention, and they coordinate together too. Some of the stencils coordinate with the mats, which is really great. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that I'm getting that buttercream in all the nooks and crannies. I am going from different angles to make sure that I get good coverage. Level out the back a little bit so that it's pretty smooth. Then put it on your chilled cake. You just press it on just like that. I would put the cake in the refrigerator until you can touch it in your finger and it doesn't stick to your finger and you don't leave any marks on it. So about 10 minutes in the freezer before you place your texture mat. You can do that with any of her texture mats. And yeah, make sure it's on there good. Put it back in the freezer for about an hour. Now, this is actually a mold that I made with molding material, molding putty, and a plastic skull. I did it a couple years ago when there were less options for decorating supplies. Now you can find all kinds of skull molds. I will try to find a good one to link also for you guys. And then this is just fondant with a little bit of Tylose in it. I pressed it in there. Make sure you press it in there really firm so you get all of the details. And then leave some extra on the top and pull it out just like you saw me do there and cut off the excess. Now, once this is firmed up, you can basically gently pull your mat away. Now, it's going to want to stick here and there. There's one spot there that really fought me, but that's okay. There's enough pattern going on that nobody's going to notice that one little spot, and maybe you can cover that with some decoration. I did the same thing on the back. I put it back in the freezer to firm up, and then I did another panel. And this is where I'm making my edible fabric. Those were all the ingredients. I will link the recipe in the description for you. So you're making gelatin, letting it firm up for 5 minutes, popping it in the microwave 30-second increments until it is liquefied again and clear, basically. But you're going to have this film on top. So go ahead and scoop off some of this film. It's really hard to get it all, but just kind of get as much as you can. It's not going to matter too much, especially if you're adding a metallic to your edible fabric. Now I'm adding the glycerin, food grade glycerin, and that's what gives it the flexibility. This is key. Now the recipe I'll have linked will be a half of this. I did a double recipe. So you're not going to have that much. I wanted to cover about, I was going for 7 or 8 sheets and I got about 6 out of it. No, 4 sheets out of it. But then I'm just, with your wafer paper, put it on, this is 0 grade wafer paper, put it on a silicone mat. You heat up your mixture again. Make sure it's nice and liquidy. You can always pop it back in the microwave for 15 seconds or so to thin it down again if it starts getting too thick on you. But you have to work kind of quickly. Brush on a good coat on the back, flip it over, do another coat. And I did this with all of those, but I skipped right to the metallic. I let it dry so you could touch it and it didn't stick to your finger. Oh, I would say about 15 minutes is all it really takes. Then I'm using my silver luster dust and a fluffy brush and just patting it on there. And look at that shine that you get. Now you're going to want to peel it away from your mat gently, flip it over, and do the same on the other side. Now you can do this by just coloring your gelatin, but then you're going to have to use some cornstarch instead of the silver luster. You're going to have to use some cornstarch. Brush it on real good. Otherwise, the whole thing is going to be really sticky. But that will be in the recipe that I'll link. And look what you got. Some flexible, edible fabric. It's pretty cool. Look how malleable it is. Now I took my cake out of the freezer and I am just cutting off the excess on top. Now I will admit that back piece did not work out real well. I didn't put enough buttercream widthwise on the mat. I was trying to get it to match up so I didn't have overhang on top of what I had already done, but it wasn't wide enough and I didn't leave it in the freezer long enough because I had to finish up. So just pretend like that back didn't happen. Just look at the front. And then I added some of the bubble tea straws, all cut to the same height, into the cake, put some more buttercream on there, and then I just lifted the top tier onto that bottom tier. Now I'm putting edible glue to get the edible fabric to stick. I will link that also on how to make that edible glue. So I wasn't really worried about that top tier being perfect at all because I knew you weren't going to see any of it, really. I knew it was going to be completely draped. And then just kind of ruche it, move it around where you want it. You could do this on, you cannot do this on fondant, FYI. Fondant and gelatin are not friends. They melt each other. Learn that the hard way before. Don't do it. Just put it on chilled, set up, firm buttercream. And since I have the 2 separate pieces, I kind of had to overlap them on the sides there. One side's going to be covered up with some decorations. Just pick your worst side for that. And then for the top, I just pleated it together and then cut off the excess and laid it flat. Now I'm adding some detail on our buttercream transferred layer. And this is just some more of that silver. I wanted to tie the silver in together. So I'm just dry dusting it on in certain bigger bare sections in this pattern. Then I just put some sugar rock candy in the center. And then once I get it all on there, I'm going to paint those with some of the silver luster dust mixed with some Everclear. Now you could use some vodka if you prefer. I just find that the Everclear gives you better coverage. Then I took another piece and just kind of pleated it together, cut off the excess off of the top, put some buttercream on the cake and draped it. And then I did that other little piece that I ruched again just to tie them together. And then I just added my sugar skulls with some buttercream and some silk flowers, red and burgundy, for the Halloween type look, just to finish it off. So there it is, all done. Guys, I hope you liked it. Hope you got something. As always, I hope you learned something that you can use. And if you would, just go ahead, take the time and subscribe to my channel and like and share and do all the things. I really, really appreciate it. And I will catch you on the next one.